these sessions. Yeah, so I would like to let you know that this session is recorded. All right. Yeah, so integrating technology and PBL in ELT Classroom. How has our fellow teacher here done in their own classroom? Let's listen to their experience now. Okay, I will give the floor to you, Refaay, and I will help you with the screen sharing. Please.
Yes. First of all, I just would like to thank you for the great introduction and for inviting us for this the greatest things to be happening among teachers around the world. I would like to welcome everybody, and I would like to say that I'm really pleased to be with you. At the same time, I gotta say that I like the rundown way and the way of interaction is gonna be happening among us. So at the same time, I would like to say that our presentation is going to be about implementing PBL in your class, which is project-based learning. Together, we're going to figure out how to come up with ideas for project-based learning together. But at the same time, we will move on to our objectives today, which is going to be slide 2. Let's take a look together. Our main objectives today, like in 15 minutes, we're going to be identifying the project-based learning. What is the meaning of this? Then I'm going to be examining a variety of practical ideas to start your PBL in your class, different varieties based on my experience and other experience from other teachers. At the same time, I'm going to be sharing some tech tools to facilitate and easy things up for you to experience the PBL in your class. This is our agenda for today. Now let's move ahead with the real work together. In the chat box, I'm going to be sharing and interacting. I want the teachers attending with us today to share with me in the chat box our question in here, which is slide number 3. Yeah. We would move ahead with our question today. How old are your students, or what grades do you teach? So I'm looking for some participation here in the chat box in a minute. Share with me, well, how old are your students, or what grades do you teach? Because this is very important for our presentation today. We're going to be watching the chat, of course. I see that there is a response in here. First one. Yeah. Oh, God. Like Liz says, 4 to 54. Wonderful. That's great. So, variety of ages. Thank you, Levi. Johan's question or Christian says for grade 8 and 9, grade 10 from Derek. Urus, that's grade 9 too. I hope that I'm saying the names well. And of course, Sukma, of course, she's been the first to share grade 9. Thanks a lot, everybody. Great answers, great start together. I think now, based on your answers in the chat box, I think it's time for moving on to the real presentation we have with the next slide. It's great that we have different variety of ages that you're teaching. So I'm pretty sure that most of you have heard, maybe experienced, maybe read about PBL, project-based learning. It's great if you can share with us any idea you have about PBL in just 1 minute to, again, in the chat box. What do you know? What did you hear about the PBL? Maybe just one word. You don't have to write full sentences. Maybe simple words to give us some kind of indication that you read about it or maybe attended a webinar about it before. Project-based learning. If it has ever came across, maybe authentic. Thank you, Richard. Amazing. Yeah, authentic. It's true. Okay. Liz says, the students work together to come up with creative solution to a problem. That's one of the things, yeah. Student-centered, that's really good, Vida, right. Leviana says, give the students projects. That's, yeah, the main thing, of course, to give students projects. And learning by solving problems, sometimes it can be a product, of course. You hands, that's amazing. All of your answers are giving us a great pavement for the way today about project-based learning. And all what you said is really true. It's authentic work about giving students projects to solve problems or maybe come up with a product. All of your answers give us a definition for the word PPL. So I would say that definition of PPL comes from your answers in the chat. It's authentic work when you give projects to students to solve a problem or come up with a product. Thanks a lot for your answers. Now let's move on. Let's move on with the real ideas to present PPL. With the next slide, of course, our fairest and most amazing, based on my experience as a teacher, I tried this with my students. How green are you? And sustainable development. So you're here dealing with two things at the same time. Maybe if you're going to teach like some kind of about pollution, or maybe how people are green and so on, they are at the same circle. We have two things here to be happening. I gave you two ideas in dramatization, and like campaign, how we do each one of them. Now let's think together. I tried it with my students that one of the times I was teaching a unit called Going Green. And this is the point when you, of course, you teach kind of pollution and everything, you know, about like this kind of combination of elements about pollution and environment. Of course, it was one of the times that I had to integrate drama with English in the same project. How we did that? Of course, we had to think together. Students like to have their authentic work and at the same time apply what they know from the real unit. So this is a time when they come up with the idea of creating their own novel or play, sorry. They created a play, they wrote a script on their own. They made it like working groups, and we came up with the idea of acting out a play on their own. They are the creators, they are the actors and actresses, they found everything and they applied their knowledge, of course, in drama. This was one of the fantastic ways to apply what they know in English, but at the same time with drama and integration. Some other time, we had another idea for pollution too, but with a different grade, because what we're seeing now here goes with different grades and different stages, like depending on the level of proficiency of your students, it's different. So you choose what's good for them. Another time we had a campaign, this one when we were at school, because not everything would be happening online. This one of the times happening at school, students created like a campaign towards pollution at school. You know, they have been moving around with the classes, giving advice, creating brochures, doing some kind of solutions for pollution in their community. So they didn't only move on with discussing pollution in English or maybe studying things, but they moved on with the real application in their own community. And this is the greatest thing happening when you make students do their authentic work and try to share their ideas. Maybe we have now social media. Of course, they can use Facebook, Twitter, and everything to share their ideas for Facebook and make people know about their ideas to solve problems. For example, saving water, maybe like reducing pollution, recycling. This is one of the greatest projects students can use or they can do, and they come up with really creative ideas when it comes to recycling, you know, when teachers think with them. So these are two things to be happening: drama and campaign when it comes to pollution and sustainable development. And you can see now, when you are green, you are able to develop. And that's what we see here on the slide. When you are green, you're able to develop. And this is one of the things and one of the mottos you can help students with when it comes to dramatization. All right, now let's move on with the next slide. Another project we have with the students, but of course this one would be great with lower levels, maybe lower grades, not really advanced ones, because this one is really enjoyable, and it needs some kind of attention, and people like to be moving around the world. We had two things here when we think about holidays here. Number one is holiday pressure. And of course, holiday pressure, it takes a lot of time. It's not only happening in just one class. It takes time. And when you start from like you covering listening with reading, writing, speaking, of course, the students present their project. They are practicing the four skills, not only one. And it doesn't end in just one class. It takes a lot of time for students, maybe in grade 5, maybe grade 4. It depends on on their level. You know, it takes time with them, and they go step by step until they master the presentation at the end of the project. And when they give you the product, students come up with real great products in the end. What you see right now in the screen is one of the samples in the beginning of our project when we worked on the travel report. Travel report is another idea, but it's really related to the travel brochure. Why? Because travel report, you're working on different ways or different fields of knowledge, not only English, but you're dealing with history, you're dealing with geography, and a lot of things. You're speaking about culture, you're speaking about the language, you're speaking about economy at the same time. It's wonderful. It's one of the greatest projects you can ever do with the lower grades. They really enjoy it. And every time, every session, they move on with something else, something new. You know, today, let's look for something. Let's look for the geography of the country you want to travel to or something. So they would look for the borders in here and there, and they try to search information, and they come up and they write it in the report. Then they would come up with great ideas for the report. They would present it in PowerPoint presentations. They would create their own videos, and we're gonna see now in the end of the presentation how they can create their own videos. And now I think this was second idea. I hope the time is not really like time flies here. So let's move on with the third slide to finish it up. Yeah. You are what you eat. I wouldn't speak much about this because like most of the teachers have tried that. You are what you eat. One of the enjoyable, and a lot of people love this unit because a lot of people, you know, are interested in food and everything. So one of the good ideas and interesting, encouraging for students to create their own food gallery. And of course, one of the great things about food gallery is that you're not only acting or maybe doing that at school, you can do that online. You can do that online. They can create their food gallery online, you know, using pictures or maybe cooking at home and taking pictures of their own dishes and present it in a gallery, and students would move around in Zoom, of course. Of course, or cookbook would be one of the other ways for students be like learning about the recipes, ingredients, and everything. They would start that, and it takes time. It doesn't happen in just one class. I know all the vocabulary and recipes of all dishes alike, but it goes with time. And maybe it takes a semester or something. You know, it's a bit of a long time. Now, I think these are pretty good ideas for starting your own PBL. Now, let's move on with the last slide. We have online tools. These one of the greatest tools. I would say that some people know, of course, about them. Some people don't know, but I would say give you a glimpse about each tool for them. Like for example, I use Padlet for giving a reflection and making students reflect on their own learning. In every class, they learn something. Try to share with me on Padlet what you learned. How would you use that in your project, and so on. Google Docs is one of the greatest ways for helping students with writing classes, and you share with them at the same time, and you follow up what they do and everything. Next, I would say that working on Zoom, one of the simple ways, of course, and at the same time, Buckley is one of the good applications for recording your audios and giving students the chance to record what they thinking about. For example, they don't have to write. Some people like to speak a lot. Now with the magic tool for Flipgrid. Flipgrid is one of the greatest, amazing tools online that students can use to record their own videos with a lot of other features like adding emojis and other features. Great thing for students and really enjoyable. For Canvas, one of their own projects, they can design a logo, brochure, posters for social media, a lot of things. I hope that these tools would help all teachers in all your project-based learning. Now is a time, like I feel like time has been, this is the last slide we have. Yeah, of course. Reflection, of course, I would like to know, and which of these projects we have been speaking today about, the how green are you, and the holiday travel brochure and travel report, and of course with the cookbook and the food gallery. Which of these projects would you like to try with your learners? I would like to know in the chat box. Would be happy to know that. Oh, so Mu, I wish I'm saying the name well. It's like he's saying holiday brochure. Wish you can do that very well. A lot of ideas on the internet if you can work on that. The green lifestyle, of course, Leviana, it's one of the enjoyable and of course very common among our students nowadays. Of course, when you're speaking about 21st century and sustainable development, one of the great, thank you, yeah, and holiday travel report, and never say no to food. Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, all of us, of course. Possibly you are what you eat. However, I'm unsure about how my students would cope to do with their level. Of course, like this, one of the great things about this is that you're adapting the projects and the level of the project with your students. It doesn't have to be state of the art projects. Not like use something simple. Keep it simple with them. Keep it adaptable to their level. They would work on maybe some kind of easy vocabulary, easy grammar structure, for example, like using the sequence of language, or maybe the sequence of giving sequence in a recipe, for example, first, and then after that, so as simple as that, keep it like adaptable to their level. Yeah, food for sure. A lot of people are agreeing food. Like I think we gotta do that as a worldwide project. Thank you for participation. And now with the last slide, I'm just coming. I hope that I didn't pass the 15 minutes, because it's pretty short time for all of us. And I know I wish that I can help you with any idea. And now here is the contact me if you wanna keep in touch with me on Facebook and on my new established channel on YouTube. It's Insight with Refaay. I hope that you can join us, because it's like still a new channel, and of course, like it's I hope to be an amazing one, like the one Levi created for this teachers club. And thank you, everybody. Thanks a lot for the time. Wish you could help you with anything, and hope to meet you again, inshallah, another time. Thanks, Levi. Thanks, Richard.
All right. Thank you so much, Refaay. That was amazing. Thanks for the lots of applicative ideas, I think, that we can directly apply to our classroom. From what you have explained, what I can understand is that it is quite important to make sure that we can scaffold the students before they are ready to really do the project, I guess. Yeah, so we give them the route of what they have to do before they can really accomplish that the project. That's what I learned a lot from your presentations. Okay, thank you so much. Now, well, Refaay has mentioned the use of technology while you are adopting PBL in your classroom. Now, the second speaker will talk specifically on the use of technology itself in the classroom. How has she done that in her own classroom? Okay, so I will give the floor to you, Mbak Sukma, please.
Yes, thank you, Refi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity. You know, I'm very nervous, but I will try to give you what is it? What I've done in my class that is about integrating technology in English language teaching class during COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, I would like to tell you about the reason or the background I choose using this technology. First, because of the government in Jakarta, they are worried about the lost generation caused by this pandemic. According to the report, that many teachers just give students tasks during this pandemic. So the government suggest us to open a discussion room online, actually online, to make students understand learning material and open discussion. The application we know is like Zoom or Gmeet, but in the second background, the economic family level, sorry, the economic students level background also to be one of the consideration. When I use Google Meet or Zoom, is about only 30% students who can join the application, and the other students give many reasons, such as weak signal, data package runs out, and so on. Even though the government support the data package, but it's not enough for some reasons. And then the last background is students' gadget usage. Some of my students must share the gadget usage to their siblings in learning. Even some of them share with parents using the gadget too. So this background, this condition makes me selective while using an application. So I choose applications which are used generally by students, and then no need to be installed or based on web. You know, because when students gadget use when they share the most problem is about memory. So if I ask them to install, so the material cannot be accepted by their gadget. I hope. I'm so nervous. Okay, then the media usage during the COVID-19 pandemic in 230 secondary school in Jakarta. First is WhatsApp group for class, and also a small discussion group is also in WhatsApp group. And this, I use this especially for WhatsApp group class, is to communicate to my students, to motivate and give them information, also to opening a class. And a small discussion group is tentative. If the global discussion must be separate, so they discuss. Wait a minute. Yeah. So I mean, when they should discuss in group, so they what is it? Come to their small discussion group in where group. And then next, the second media I usage in this pandemic is Zoom or Google Meeting. Even though according to my students, they spend a lot of bytes for Google and Zoom, but it's necessary to strengthen the bonding between teacher and students. So I do this to I use this to discuss and check physical condition, because you know, what is it, like a student, a man students with long hair is forbidden for in my class. So teacher should aware to their physical condition during this pandemic, because they are not come to school. So we can remind directly. Sometimes their parents doesn't care about that. And then next, the media usage I use is Google Classroom. It is the main media for sharing material, and then give the students tasks. And then I use also this media to discuss by text, using text. So while we don't have much data package, so we discuss using stream in Google Classroom. And then also to collecting tasks, I force them to collect their tasks. Sometimes my students tell me that I can collect my tasks in Google Classroom. Can I give you in WhatsApp? I mean, so I don't want they collect their tasks in because I know this in a global and ICT area, they should have what is it, ICT literation. So they must ask, perhaps by asking their friends, or even sometimes I help them step by step to do collecting tasks in Google Classroom. And then in evaluating English language tests, I use Microsoft or Google Forms, but I mostly use Microsoft Forms because my school has already have Office 365 to manage the what is it, akun.
Account.
Yes, and the email also. The email used for the test. Then now, as a teacher, use before the teaching, teacher should make a lesson plan. So when I integrating media during this pandemic, so first of all, I prepare to state the learning objective, and then prepare the material, the method, the exercise. But sometimes I would like to use PBL, what Refaay said, but I don't I don't know what is it, because the condition, but the condition is make me rather difficult to do what Refaay said, but it's interesting, I think. And then the preparation I should use do is use making timeline. In this timeline, I type about the time consumed and the activity, and then the media, because we have to switch one media from another, so students can see the timeline to see what they should do after this and after this. And then the most important also is a scenario. This scenario is a word. I mean, you know, in a certain time, in a very limited time, I should finish all the activity, because the government said students must have a rest before have a rest time. I mean, not give them many learning burden. Yeah, learning burden. So to reduce consuming time, consuming time, I prepare the words I would like to share in the Word group or in the Google Classroom. I hope you understand what I said. Okay, and then after the preparation on the time learning, first I use in WhatsApp class group, and I do here to greet and then to review what I've done in the last meeting, and to motivate them to do a social contact, social activity, yeah, to give to ask them condition or what else, and then sharing this the timeline I prepare. And then after opening, during the class, I integrated Google Classroom, and then also use quizzes, Gmeet sometime to bonding, to strengthen the bonding, and then form for evaluating, as all the activity and the media run based on the timeline I give to the student. And then for the closing, it's because I use integrated GCR, I mean all subject in the class use the same Google Classroom. So I ask my students to only do a conversation or a activity, I mean the discussion only in one stream, yeah, not open the other stream, because it can disturb other teacher. I mean, not the teacher doesn't have, I mean, the other teachers don't have the same time teaching, but they're using a lot of stream in one GCR. Students write summary for their to substitute their attendance list. I force them to read the activity in Google Classroom, because what I said, they're sharing their gadgets, so perhaps they can open the GCR after their parents come home from working, so they can use the summary to substitute the attendance list. And then also, what is it? Oh, for in closing, a teacher inform the next activity to make them aware, especially when we need to use Zoom or Google Classroom. I'm sorry, Google Meet. So they have to prepare their packet data, and then what is it, the signal, and then after using integrated Google Classroom, I asked them in timeline to use WhatsApp, and there I congratulating and reminding farewell to the students. Thank you very much. Oh, I forget about the tips. And to the learning will be run well if we first making a learning contract in the first semester, in the early semester, and then do preparation well. I usually stay awake in the night to prepare my my learning well, and then give response when they ask, and then say good, excellent when they respond to us, and then it must be, and the last is must be very difficult, because we have to consistent. But this is, I think, is the most difficult because sometimes I have an idea and I would like to do something, but they can the new thing can make students confused. So that is what I think is very hard to do. And it is the last time. Thank you. Honestly, I'm very confusing, and this is my first time using English in out of my class. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you can give me feedback. Thank you very much. Thank you, Revi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thank you so much, Sukma, for your inspiring presentations. Okay, three things that I learned a lot from you is that we need to be sensitive with the learner's need and the learner's conditions, their background, especially when we choose the apps to be used in the classroom. I remember you said that you consider the economic level of the students, and also the usage of the gadget, that they share the gadget, and so on. So those things are the consideration that we have to take into account when we choose the applications. And the second thing, I think I agree with you that not just the student but the teacher also has to be consistent in applying this the steps in and also the applications that we use in the online learning. And finally, I really like your lesson planning, the step-by-step tips that you have told us. Yeah, I think we sometimes forget that even though we are in the online learning environment, lesson planning is still relevant, and in fact, it might be more relevant nowadays. And that reminds me, I will post something on the chat. I ever read this journal by Julie Salmon, if you recognize her. So that is about this 5-stage model of like applying the online learning situations. So yeah, you might want to check it out if you have time. Okay, so yeah, so we've heard some inspiring presentations from Refaay and also from Sukma, how to use and how to apply the project-based learning and also the technology in the classroom. Now we are in the discussion sessions. Yeah, so if you would like to share your own story, if you would like to ask questions, or if you would like to give some feedback, if you come up with your own tips, you are welcome to do so. I myself have lots of questions, but I will hold myself. Yeah, I will give the chance for the participants first. So if you would like to ask the questions live, please click on the raise hand button. Yeah, so like this one. So I can see that you ask questions. And or if you would like to type your questions on the chat, you are also welcome to do so. Yeah. Okay. What is it? What is it? Yeah, Liz has a very interesting comment here. Thank you, Sukma. Your representation was really good. I understand the challenges related to technology. It is similar in Thailand. Yeah, I think the issues with the weak internet signal, the limit of the internet coverage, and also the economic level, of course, might be the most obstacles, might be the most challenge in applying the technology in the classroom. I agree. Okay, while waiting for the participants to ask questions, I would like to ask questions myself, if that's okay. Okay, to Refaay actually, how old do you think, Refaay, the age of the students, or to what level of proficiency do you think PBL could work best? What do you suggest?
Yeah. All right. Just let's think together. It's like if we go back like for some time about the way people have been teaching English in the past decades. What technique or maybe what approach has teachers or have teachers have been using? If we think together, we're going to find that people have been using the grammar translation method. So what way have the grammar translation method has moved us? What was the outcome? The outcome is that people have been moving into a different one, which is the communicative one. People have been working on communication, and this is the time when all curriculums around the world, from I would say from early stages to adult learning, so they are using communication and life skills. We're not dealing with English as a separate language now, maybe something to be studying grammar, vocabulary, something in particular, and then we move on. No, it's just not. It's time for integrating the skills and teaching something valuable for the students, even they are early or young learners. This is a time when it comes to the teachers themselves. Are they able, or maybe are they maybe brave enough to take the leap of faith and move on to the PPL, or they just need to postpone it and give it some time to think about? This is a great question for the teachers. Are you able to take your students? Are you like able to the age UL? But it's depending on the time. I wouldn't speak about like utopia and everybody is like it's okay to go with the PPL whenever you have or whenever you can. No, of course not. Some people are teaching in schools and they don't have the leverage of time. They need some time to apply the PPL. It takes time and it takes a lot of work. So they're not able to do that. But it's time. You can take it step by step into your school. Just try a bit, 1 week, for example, a week for a task, or maybe start with the TBL. You can start with the task-based learning. It's a great intro, a great approach to go with the PPL, because there is a bit of difference between them. Of course, we know TBL is just maybe one class. You just give the task, the pre-task, the task cycle, and then you move to the post-task. This is a great and a great combination of just one class. But with the PPL, you go with different classes. You know, it's really good for teachers to start from scratch. Start from scratch. It's okay. Like, give your students the chance to learn a life skill, not only the content of the lesson. This is the point. PPL is the main focus on that. Just now, we're focusing on media literacy, information literacy, digital literacy, a lot of things students need to learn about. It's not only English language. This is the time I would say that maybe I was just given a pretty long introduction, but at the same time, I would remind you, Livia and the others, it's available for teachers at any age to work with your students, but just try to keep it simple. Like, just look at the product coming from your students. One of the times I was teaching students aged, I think they were 13, 14. And it was my first time to be working with these people. I was teaching social studies, not English, you know, and I wouldn't say how difficult it was for me to teach social studies. You know, I'm not a teacher, I'm a teacher of English, and working with the social studies, it's pretty difficult in the very beginning. I just took my time to think and work. I just thought about what I'm good at. This is a very good question to ask yourself, a reflection, you know, a reflection or maybe assessment for learning, you know. And I asked myself, what am I good at? History or geography to start with? Of course, I looked for history. History was my preferable point. I started from there, and it was time, given I was teaching them revolutions, and we came up with a project. That's what I'm speaking about now. We start from knowing nothing about social studies, and now we moved on to PPL. Just we came up by the end of the class with a talk show among the leaders of the revolutions, in the Chinese one, the Russian one, French one, you know, amazing. It was fabulous. I wouldn't speak about like how students came up with ideas. You know, I didn't do anything just except for paving the way for them, just knowing where and what to address with them. And of course, to know what you're good at. What you need to work on is a very good question to start your project in the beginning. Where do you want to go with them? Of course, you wouldn't ask yourself this question and tell the students of KG, I want you to create a video and about, for example, recycling, and a very simple age, like a very young age, like I would ask them something difficult. No, of course, just go with something easy, you know, simple things. Maybe just choose a tool and go step by step with them. And of course, you wouldn't throw them in the sea and ask them to swim. Just go step by step, of course. And of course, I gotta tackle this point. You don't go with any point unless you have rubrics. You have rubrics for each stage, for each step. You don't tell students, I want, for example, like a PowerPoint presentation about an invention, for example. This is one of the greatest things you can do with your class. I want a PowerPoint. By the end of this unit, by the end of the semester, I want a PowerPoint presentation. I want you to give a presentation about your invention. And then, and I'm just, if that's it, you just tell the students to do that? Of course not. You give them the rubrics. I want this and that. Just go with this and that, 1, 2, 3, and just let students develop. And this is the idea of PPL, personalization, personalizing and contextualizing the things you're teaching, which is like really important for students to know where you want to go with them and what do you want for them to achieve and how you're going to assess. Of course, don't forget that, because all the PPL is still under assessment. You're still coming for assessing their level and giving them feedback every now and then, you know, and supporting. And like, as you said, Olivia, in the very beginning, you said something really important, scaffolding. You know, it's project-based learning is built on scaffolding, of course, no doubt. I wish I could answer the question well, because I took a pretty long time. Thank you.
Definitely answering my questions. Thank you, Refaay. Yeah, I agree. It is very important to let the students know what we want them to go, where and how we want them to go, like the route, like a rubric, yeah. And time time management, of course, it is very important for the teacher to plan the sequence of the project, of course. Okay, thanks again, Refaay. We've got another question here from Liz. Okay, the first one, Liz, is a very interesting comment. Once again, I know about using PBL with native speaker in Australia, older primary and secondary. There is a definite aspect of autonomous learning in this context. I think for students learning English, things like brainstorming and creating ideas could be challenging. I agree, Liz. I mean, at some points, many teachers might be afraid of worried of applying the PBL because that's not because the students are still struggle with the language. Yeah, but if we again scaffold them, I think maybe give them some pre-verb structure to use during the conversations. I think we still can do that. I do that in my class, in fact. And also, let's get the questions here. I think it's for Refaay
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, of course, she's gonna
How
ask
much
about
do
the
you allow?
brainstorming. Yeah, brainstorming and using native languages.
Yeah,
It's really important. It's really important for a teacher like to think about their context because it's really difficult to generalize things in here. You should give yourself some time looking at your friends and their level. Of course, reflect on what you have at school, the resources and everything. I've been thinking about I'm working right now and another school I was working on. I would say that they are like cheese and chalk. Cheese and chalk. They are both white, but completely different. Completely different, 100%. You're speaking here with, I'm from Egypt, by the way, for people who don't know, I'm from Egypt. And we have low resources school in here, a lot of them. On the other way, there are others, they are really fully equipped schools. So you have to think about the context you're dealing with, the background of your students. You have to put yourself in their shoes. I would say as a teacher, of course, when I was teaching teenagers and adults, I would like ban speaking Arabic inside the class. You know, I would make people pay money, sing songs, do something funny for speaking Arabic. Nobody speaks Arabic in my class at all. But this is in English courses with adults and sometimes teenagers. But with the early stage, you know, I find it difficult. Like students find something they need to feel safe, and they have great ideas to be coming out of them, you know. So you are the one giving them the chance in the just beginning. There is no shame in that. Give them some time to speak in their native tongue, you know, when you are brainstorming, some time. But when you find your way to their heart, students will feel it. They will know that you want to speak English most of the time. So even in the beginning, if they speak Arabic or if they speak their native language, after that, after some time, they're going to be speaking for, you know, they would ask themselves, ask their friends, their colleagues in class, you know, what is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of that? You know, and they start chatting to get and to grab the word in English, not in Arabic. This is the point I'm speaking about now. You find your way, you know your context. There is no shame to speak in the native language with the students, as long as you're giving them the chance to create and bring, or yeah, just coming up with new things they haven't thought about. Maybe this is the reason for school. It's just we're not in class for, of course, teacher-centered class. I am the parrot who's speaking a lot and giving them the ideas, you know. Student, remember this, remember that, and memorize. It's not there anymore. Giving them the chance to think is the real purpose behind the class.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it might be interesting to hear from yourself, Liz. How do you do your baby steps in your context?
Well, yes, I know I presented about encouraging students to speak, and that's a real challenge in my context, because I'm going pretty much from zero autonomous speaking, really, for these students. Like, I came into this context and the students weren't even confident enough to say, hello, how are you, my name is, on their own. It took me several months of working with these students only 1 or 2 times a week to get them to introduce themselves in English or write a paragraph describing themselves in English. So that's why I'm talking about the baby steps, to get them to write, to generate ideas in English is a big leap for them. So that's why I was asking about the project-based learning in terms of, yeah, maybe they can do it with a lot of translation or working together in their native language. And the culture here, they like to prepare a lot before they are confident speaking. So they would, yeah, translate, get a lot of help from me, generate the ideas in their language, maybe draw some pictures, use a lot of visuals before they would be ready then to present even something simple like a recipe or whatever the project is. Maybe it is this, you are what you eat. And then for some of them, it might just be one word, you know.
Yeah, why not? Why not? But just you give them the chance, you know? Yeah, but of
this
course,
is
like,
fried rice, these are my ingredients. It would be a very
yes.
basic thing. Yeah.
And
I think
you
that
gotta
shifts my understanding of PBL, but it just strips it back to a more simple way of doing it, which, you know, which is possible with the right amount of scaffolding, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I see Liz, like I've been in your shoes. Like for some time I was teaching people who didn't like finish school, and they were adults and they couldn't like utter the letters of English, you know. It was really difficult. And I would see now how we teachers and see the look on their face when they start speak and break their barrier, you know. There is this they are afraid to speak English, and they're like afraid of their students to be laughing at them or something, you know. Oh, this one is pronouncing badly or something, or saying the word in, this is English, are you like trying to speak English? This is not English. No, they start to tease each other, but you still give them the confidence. I wouldn't say that project-based learning would be effective for any case, but just at least they are like able to help the teacher, man, and you, of course, you spend some time with them to get them into the project itself. You know, I this is really great for the context.
Yeah, thank you. That is, I think, really ignite the hot discussion here. Yeah. For some Indonesian students, for example, Eva, and also for Tutus, the same thing happens in their classroom. Yeah, the same thing happened to as in Liz's classroom. And also I can see that it is also happened in Malal context, which is in Africa. Yeah, which is really interesting that it happened around the world, I guess, in the non-English speaker countries. Okay, I can see that you want to add something, Refaay, because you raised your hand.
Yeah, actually, I raised my hand because Eva, she's been saying that students are not confident. They always respond with me in Indonesian, though I ask them in English. Yeah, and this is one of the greatest things happening to teachers of English, of course. Listen, everybody working around the world, they know this case that when you're asking in English and they respond in the native language. You know, I would say that away from the target of the class, because like we were focused today on PPL, but this would be one of the targets, one of the objectives of the speaking presentation. Of course, Levi, we would cover that in another presentation, inshallah. I would say that students would get confident when you're trying to give them the chance to speak, but of course you have to like go with them the baby steps, as Liz said. You know, don't push them. A lot of students, some students are really shy to speak. They are really shy. It's not just they can't speak. They are shy to do it, even if they know. So try to start giving them the chance to and model this kind of speaking. You know, make them repeat the sentences. Don't make them come up with ideas from their minds. You know, just make them read a dialogue, make them read a sentence or something and repeat it, memorize a script or something and speak it. You know, this is the way of building confidence. It doesn't come up from asking and answering. You know, I will always ask you and you will always stay silent. There is no point. You know, how would you, you know, push the inside or the intrinsic motivation to make me speak and make me interact, to maybe, for example, using techniques. You know, teachers would know some other techniques like the advocate, you know, devil's advocate, asking them teasing questions. So they would get provocated, maybe, you know, no, just no, mister, stop, I will have to speak. You know, this is a time when you know, push them to speak from inside, not only repeat the answers. Like, for example, what did you do yesterday? I watched TV. Okay, when did you watch TV? I watched TV at So where is the point? This is not, you're not building conversation, but try to look for other ideas, make students are really interested in speaking, you know, and go with them step by step. That's what I'm speaking about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we would need like separate the time to discuss more about this topic here. Okay, but anyway, yeah, well, I think I will check if there is another questions, might be the last questions perhaps, before we come up with some pedagogical overview from Richard. If there is anything else. Okay. I want to ask one last question for Mbak Sukma, if that's okay. What is your favorite applications? What is personally, which one is your favorite applications in your classroom?
Google Classroom is
Google Classroom.
that is, I mean, the each media has different what is it? Different
benefits, I think, yeah.
Yeah, different benefits. So I can't actually just this was my favorite, but all my favorite actually. Yeah, because they need it.
Yeah, they complement to each other, I think, yeah. And of course, I believe that technology, especially during this online schools everywhere, I think will be really relevant to support the use of PBL, I think, in our classroom. Okay, let me check screening for the last time. Let me check on the chat if there is no other feedback. Okay. Okay, right. So if there isn't any other questions, let's use the next 15. Oh, Refaay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
The last questions. Yes.
I think I'm pretty much tired today speaking. Like, I've taken most of your time, but I'm really sorry. I forgot to mention something really important for the teacher, and I would say that this is the gift for today. This is I would say that they call it. Richard would remind me. This call it like cheat sheet or something. By the end of the presentation, I would tell you about one of the websites. Levi would share with us. Maybe she's using the screen right now to look for a website called PPL Works. PPLworks.com. Try please to
PPL, sorry.
PPL Works.
Works, yes.
This is one of the greatest websites about PPL and project-based learning. You know, you can find a lot of projects and a lot of ideas, materials, presentations, you know, videos. Like it's a treasure, you know, treasure for PPL. You know, you can look for things
Yeah,
over
this
there.
one, I'm sorry, is it PBL, right? Sorry, I read it
Yeah.
PPL, sorry.
No
Okay,
problem.
hold on a
PPL
sec.
works.
PBL work like this. Let me try to search it. And by the way, for all participants, not to worry, because I'm going to share all the websites that we've been talking about throughout the discussions at the WhatsApp group. Yeah, so you can always come back here again and check the websites.
Yeah,
Is it this one?
Yeah, this is the one I'm speaking about.
Okay. PBL
It's
works.
fabulous. Yeah, you can like stay there for 2 days like without being bored. You know, you'll find great ideas, great things about projects. What's some kind of integration between school subjects. You can look for what's best for your school. You know.
Project-based learning for all.
What's great about it is that it gives you some kind of criteria and the rubrics that I've told you about. You know, you can download it from there. They're fabulous, wonderful.
All right, thank you so much, Refaay.
Yeah,
I have
you're
the
welcome.
link there on the chat for everyone who would like to check it. Yeah.
Yes.
And I will share it again on the WhatsApp group. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So yeah, now we are almost to the end of the discussions. To wrap it up, I would give the floor to Richard. Go ahead, Rich.
Thank you. So firstly, thank you to Sukma and to Refaay for your presentations. Those were both really interesting and we all, I think, learned a lot. The themes you covered are quite different, so I'm going to talk about them separately, if that's okay. I'll start with project-based learning. Refaay talked a lot about the rationale for project-based learning. If I talk about rationale, I hope everyone knows what I mean, the reasons why we do something. And Refaay covered in good detail the pedagogical rationale, the reasons from a teaching and learning perspective, why project-based learning is a good idea. I probably don't need to repeat them. There were lots of ideas, lots of reasons. It's good for setting context. It's applicable to the real world. It supports fluency. It's authentic. It gives students an opportunity to draw on other skills. It's learner-centered. It's focused on solutions. It lets students create a product. Lots and lots and lots and lots of reasons. I think we agree. That's the pedagogical rationale. And most writers on education agree there is also a strong cognitive rationale for project-based learning. The evidence from a psychological angle in favor of project-based learning and also task-based learning is very strong. There is strong evidence that students learn more effectively when they not only use language, but also use other skills. That engaging different skills, engaging different parts of the brain together is good for learning. It strengthens memorization and it strengthens engagement in the task. So the rationale in favor of project-based learning and task-based learning, its kind of cousin, is very strong. It's a strong rationale. I did want to mention we've got obviously task-based learning, project-based learning, and another one that you may have heard of, which is content language integrated learning. Again, similar but different. And project-based learning can even extend into content language integrated learning, when language and the subject matter are taught together. And some of what Refaay was describing there with teaching social studies would work well from a content language integrated learning perspective. Bilingual schools, international schools often use content language integrated learning as a technique to manage students who are all studying in English, but maybe have different first languages. Maybe we'll talk in more detail about this technique another time. But Refaay went into great detail on the benefits, on the rationale behind project-based learning. There's one rationale, one reason for doing this I really want to add and draw attention to, and that's thinking about the world after the pandemic. The world after the pandemic will maybe be quite a different place. It will probably be much more online. There will probably be employment challenges in every country. When you think about the kind of jobs people will do, maybe there will be changes. All of us as teachers, our jobs have changed, haven't they? But everybody's job has changed. If you're a lorry driver, your job has changed, for example. If you run a shop, your job has changed. So what skills will young people need for the future? Arguably, they will need skills like creativity, coming up with solutions for complex problems, teamwork, and these are the very things that project-based learning supports. So project-based learning as a type of teaching is forward-looking, and it will help prepare our learners for the future, for a future which is much less certain. If you think about the grammar translation method, you learn a grammar item, you practice some sentences, you say them together as a class, then you write a short piece, where it's piece of language one by one by one, or even presentation, practice, production method. We learn one language item at a time. This is better suited to a world which is more predictable, where we can organize knowledge as we learn this, then we learn this, then we learn this. Perhaps the old world was that way. But in the future, learners will need the ability to think creatively, to think on their feet, to analyze new problems and create solutions. And project-based learning is perhaps the best tool to prepare them for this. So Refaay went into good detail on the cognitive rationale and the pedagogical rationale, but I think there's also a career rationale and a life rationale for choosing project-based learning, which is really important to bear in mind. Of course, there's the reality of being a teacher. When you teach, especially in the state sector, in a publicly funded school, perhaps you don't have full freedom to throw away the old curriculum and introduce a new one. But maybe now is a good time for teachers to have conversations with administrators about what kind of curriculum do we want for the future? What kind of teaching will help our students prepare for the world that we're moving into? Maybe this is a great time to have those conversations about the benefits of project-based learning and similar types of learning which prepare us better for the future. That was one thing I really wanted to draw attention to. I also wanted to think about technology. Sukma showed very clearly how technology can be applied in a public school setting. And Sukma raised a really interesting point. We don't have equality of access to technology. This is the reality everywhere. In developing countries, this challenge is very big. But even in developed countries, we have this problem here in the UK too. Not as much, but we have this problem too. For example, my home village doesn't have Wi-Fi. My home village is deep in the countryside. You cannot install Wi-Fi there. So everybody has to use their phone, hold their phone up to the sky to receive messages. It's very frustrating. This is in a wealthy developed country. So everywhere there will be challenges to some degree, but in developing countries, it's a bigger challenge. I'm going to say a political point. I'll try not to be too controversial. In the past, when governments first introduced public schooling, sometimes school uniform was used as a way to stop poor children going to school. Make the school free, but make the uniform expensive, and the poor children can't go. My fear is this might happen with technology. The school is free, but the technology to access school is too expensive. That's a challenge that governments have to think about. It's more than just making school free. It's also making sure that students, children, pupils, older learners can actually access it. In the past, school uniform was the barrier. Maybe technology will be in future if we're not careful. I realize that's a political point. That's as political as I'm going to go today. I'm not going to go any more political than that, I promise. And I'm not going to comment on how good or bad anyone's government behaves in that regard. But it's an important question. Access is an important question. Sukma raised another very, very important point about using technology, which is about classroom routines. I think at the beginning, many teachers maybe panicked and thought, oh my goodness, I have to teach online. What do I do? I'll send a WhatsApp message and I'll send a YouTube video and maybe I'll just do these questions, okay? But no, we need routines. Learners need routines. So Sukma says, keep the welfare-based conversation, the motivation on WhatsApp, keep the homework and the tasks on Google Classroom, separate them. This separation is important for learners to have routine. Without routine, their learning will be less effective. And Sukma made that point really well. And the lesson planning follows a clear routine. Learners know where they are, what's expected. It's easier for them to focus. It's easier for them to monitor their own progress. You might think having routine means being teacher-centered, but it doesn't. Having routines makes it possible for learners to monitor how they are doing, to monitor their own progress. And actually, it's student-centered. If it's done correctly, of course, like everything. Can be done well, can be done badly. Those were the main points I wanted to make. I'm just going to check if there's anything else to raise. Oh, Sukma mentioned one more thing that was also important, and that is checking in on our students and their welfare. Without seeing our students, we don't know what's happening in their home lives. So making sure that we catch up is an important part of our teacher role. Not every teacher is concerned with pastoral care, but if you are, it's an important part of that role. And Sukma made that point really clearly, that this is an important part of being a teacher, is being aware of our students' well-being. That's everything from me. If anyone has any questions, I'm still here for a little bit. But once again, thank you to both Refaay and to Sukma for your brilliant presentations. I think we've all learned a lot. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Rich, for the pedagogical overview. That will be very interesting to talk a little bit more about PBL in the future, to talk a little bit more about the political overview of the equality of technology in the classroom setting. Okay, yeah, I think that will be the end of our discussion today. If anyone, as Richard said, has questions for Richard, then you are welcome to do so. Okay. Tommy said, I'm happy listening to this webinar. Don't forget to share the recorded video. I will, promise. But I have to deal with the conversion first, you know. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Eva said, and also Totus. All right. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for the presenters, Refaay and Sukma, Richard. Thank you so much. And for all the the participants, for your questions, for your feedback, for your own story from your classroom. And also, thank you so much for the volunteers in my English club that make this talk happen. And now, okay, right. Now, let's have a group photo before I forgot about it. Okay. Yeah. If possible, that would be great. Is everyone can turn the video on? All right. Oh. And also, if that's okay, that would be great to keep mute. Thank you. All right. Yeah. Okay. We've got two screens, so we have to do it twice. Okay. Everyone, get yourself ready. Get your smile ready. 3, 2, 1. Cheese. Okay. The next screen now. All right. 3, 2, 1. Cheese. Okay. Yeah. And for everyone, again, I will put all the links that we have mentioned throughout the discussions, and you will find it in a WhatsApp group. Yeah. And don't forget that on September, we will have the last Teachers Talk, which is Teachers Talk 6, session 6. One of the presenters is here. He is Malal. He's there. Hello, Malal. Yeah, we will see Malal on September. Yeah, so I hope to see you again. We will be talking about a different topic, and I hope that will answer your real classroom challenge. Okay, now let me check my checklist if there is anything else I need to share to you. Oh yeah, this one, the very last one. Okay, here it is. Yeah, please follow our Instagram. Oh, sorry, this should be the next one. Here we go. Oh, yeah, my English club _Balikpapan, BBPN, sorry. And also Yayasan Bangun Tunas Cerdas Idea. If your institution of your community would like to collaborate with us, we are more than happy to collaborate with you. Okay. Yeah, so that's all for this evening. Thank you so much again for joining, and I'll see you again on September. Have a great weekend. No, sorry, weekend is over. Have a great weekdays for everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.
Pleasure. See you.
See you too.